Oh my goodness, look how big our avatars are this week. Wow. All right. Well, we're back here for another episode of Pony Express Radio. Mr. P. Quinones is out tonight, but I've got my trusty friend here, Mr. Paul Fahrenheit, is here, and the two of us are going to tackle the news for this week. But first, as always, we must get around to the shillings before we start. So, once again, summer is drawing to a close now, but you can still get shredded. Head on over to Axios Remote Fitness and Coaching. If you were not shredded for this White Boy Summer, please do get shredded for next year's White Boy Summer. Or you know what? Just make it an eternal White Boy Summer. Why not? You know, we should all aspire to such things in the future when we win. But anyway, also head over to Fox and Sons Coffee if you guys need your caffeine fix. I know plenty of guys in the OGC are coffee drinkers, and they all stand by Fox and Sons. As a matter of fact, I think Charlemagne buys it by in like huge bulks. So maybe he's stockpiling a bunch of it. Who knows? So head on over there, and then of course, if you need a nicotine fix, because we here at the OGC are pro big tobacco, head on over to Alp for all your nicotine pouch needs. So, Mr. Fahrenheit, welcome back to the show. It's been some time since we've talked on the stream, isn't it? I mean, we talk all the time, but
it's been a while. Yeah, you have dollar store Pete Quinones.
So. Don't sell yourself short, my friend. Do not. Yeah. All right. Well, why don't we just hop into the stories this week? You know, it kind of is unfortunate that the Trump-Putin meeting isn't until tomorrow, because then we'd actually have something way more interesting to talk about. But, you know, the main story for this week is President Trump just declaring crime is over in Washington, D.C., and has decided to take full control over the city in many different aspects. We'll get to that in a minute here. But here we go. So here's our National Guard guys walking around Washington, D.C., which on the start of this, this really isn't as absurd as some people might think. I know in my travels throughout much of Europe a couple of years ago, like when I was in London and Paris, and Brussels and Antwerp and Amsterdam and stuff, you have military guys walking around all over the place. You know, the fully regalia, like G36s and everything, you know, walking about major cities in Europe is definitely not an absurd thing to see. So at the start of it, I don't really care that I see guys in uniform walking around DC. I just want the crime situation fixed, because as we're going to get to in a moment, the current characters who are in charge of fixing the crime and the police chief over there in Washington, DC are, let's just say, the exact kind of characters you'd expect to find in a situation as this. So, Mr. Fahrenheit, how about you give us your initial impressions of National Guardsmen showing up in Washington, D.C. to quell the crime? What do you think?
Well, so Washington, D.C., actually, a lot of people don't know this, but Washington, D.C. has its own National Guard. There's a Washington, D.C. National Guard that is directly under the authority of I think the president actually is who it's directly under the authority of, but it's like delegated out to the mayor of D.C. It's unique in that it's the only non-state entity, unless you count like the territories, like Puerto Rico as a National Guard, et cetera. But yeah, Washington, D.C. has a National Guard, and their National Guard is a full brigade of military police, for one city, which is a significant expenditure for one city. And I can obviously understand why, you know, if in an urban environment, the most effective military asset is going to be riot police. So that's MPs. But like looking at these guys walking around in this video, like this is obviously being overblown as a quote unquote occupation. They're walking around with books. They're not in full battle. They're not, you know, they don't have live rounds. They don't. Yeah,
There's not even a single M4 here.
Yeah. I see their Humvees. If I could see like the top, I don't see 240s or 50 cals in the Humvees. Like this is just, they're just standing around, man. This is a show, right? Maybe the cops. I haven't been in DC recently. As you all know, I'm from the area. I mean, and like I don't know. This is a show of force, but it's like, you know, really, if you look past the fact that you've got people in uniform just walking around, but they're walking around like it's like, you know, like they're on post going to the friggin' PX. That's what they look like. So no, now speaking more substantially to President Trump's feeling it's justified to wrest control over the District of Columbia, I think this was completely justified. I remember when I was working I was a bartender up in the Arlington area. I remember just walking home from the bar one night, and I just, this was in Arlington, which used to be a part of DC, but it's on the other side of the Potomac. And I just look, and I just see this homeless guy peeing into the street. Like just staring ahead, like right standing in front of a building, just pissing in the street, man. Crazy. And the homeless problem, it's not as bad as in some places, but it's pretty bad here. And one time I made the mistake of turning down Minnesota Avenue, which you should not do. I highly would not recommend it. But no, yeah, I mean, this is like, as far as the media overblowing it as an occupation, this is completely within the president's rights to do. As far as I understood, DC is a federal city, and the National Guard of DC exists for this exact purpose. And frankly, I think that the violent crime deserves something like this. But I'm sure if the MPs are going into like I said, Minnesota Avenue, they are not this undressed, because these guys, I think, are on the National Mall, which is totally safe. So.
A side note, totally unrelated to what you were just talking about. I fucking hate these electronic scooters that have been popping up all over the major cities over the last 10 years or so. You're supposed to leave them at one of the charging stations or check-in stations, but people never do, so they just leave them on every sidewalk, everywhere you walk around. They're just eyesores, man. I don't like them at all, and they're very homosexual. I'll add as well.
Nor do I. I mean, imagine the kind of crap that just gets on them from constant usage. Literally the town bicycle.
Yeah, really. Yeah, exactly. But so we got these National Guard guys walking around, just a brief show force, I would say. Like we said, they're not walking around with guns, right? But people will remember my report from making my return trip to DC. I had been maybe 15 years or so, but I did stop in DC last year and stayed for a couple of days, and it just felt I just felt uneasy the entire time I was there. I was like, this is an evil place. There are demons here. I do not like this place at all, and it shouldn't feel that way walking into your nation's capital. We have some amazing museums here. We're going to talk about that in a minute here, about the museums and all the great monuments. And this should be a place where Americans feel a sense of pride, coming here and saying, wow, this is amazing. Look at all the accomplishments of the United States, the beautiful architecture, all the national buildings and the monuments. And no, it's just riddled with crime and riddled with Democrats and riddled with troons. It's sad place.
I don't regret being from what is it? Everyone kind of defaults to being from the city, the major metropolitan they were born closest to. And, I don't regret growing up in the DC area and visiting, school field trips. You'd always go to DC just because of how close it was and how much there was there. I always loved going to the Smithsonian. I always loved, walking around the National Mall into the various monuments. I always enjoyed it. And I don't regret being from there. And really, there's no problem, that there's there's two parts when you're analyzing something. There's the form and the substance, right? The form is, what the thing itself is. So you can have something that's a good form, like you can be a good parent. And then there's the substance, which is the particular traits about the thing you're analyzing. So you can be a good parent, but teach your kid bad things. You can be a bad parent, but teach your kid good things, right? That's the difference I'm getting at here. And I don't think there's anything wrong with the form of Washington, D.C. as a city. I don't think anyone has a problem with the fact that your nation's capital has a higher than average cost of living, has some pretty looking buildings, has, politicians and the living there. I don't think anyone has I don't think that that's necessarily wrong with the form. It's just the substance of the city. And you can make this critique of just about any city in the United States, but the substance of the city is just horrible, right? Just the political loyalty banners. DC is the most rabid hate Trump locality. Not even New York City is as bad.
Yeah, I was there in October last year, just before the election, and I sensed it in the air everywhere I walked.
Well, these are the people who think The West Wing is a documentary. Like, these are the kinds of people who live here. These are the people who listen to NPR as entertainment or as their news source. Like, these are the people who believe MSNBC is an unbiased news source. They all live here, and they all more or less are self-contained within the same social circles, and they never leave this frigging city. You know, I had something else. I had another joke I was going to make. I forget. Shoot.
Well, speaking of the Smithsonian stuff, so the Trump team also just announced that they are going to be looking with great scrutiny of the entire Smithsonian Institute, basically for political activism. And I've actually never been to the Museum of Natural History in D.C. I'd like to go one of these days, most notably because a lot of Theodore Roosevelt's taxidermy is actually in the Natural History Museum there. So I'd like to see that. But I can't imagine what kind of woke nonsense has been injected into those museums over the last 15, 20 years.
Have you heard about the Museum of Black People?
I didn't even know we had one. I mean, it's already a slap in the face enough that the museum that is closest on the entire lawn there, the closest museum to the Capitol building, is of course the Holocaust Memorial Museum. So
that's not even the worst one. I mean, personally, I think what is it? I don't know if the producer can pull up a photo quick enough, but I just to show how ugly this frigging building is, the Black People Museum. It's the most recent one, I think. See if I can try to screen grab something.
Well, we'll keep talking about it, and maybe we'll get one up.
Yeah. No, it's a hideous building, man. It's totally ugly.
Zach Frisbee in the chat says, "Do you think they changed the smoke detectors there?" It's like an upside down pyramid.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he got it. Yep. I've never been there myself, but yeah, look at this. It's the ugliest looking building ever. And this was, I think this was completed. It was I don't know when it was ordered, but I know it was completed during the Brandon administration. And it's an eyesore, and I hate it, and I'd like to demolish it, but probably never going to happen. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, so we'll see what happens with taking a look at the whole Smithsonian Institute as a whole in the future. I mean, honestly, that can only be a good thing at this point. I mean, we were kind of talking before we went live about like PragerU is getting involved with creating like children's TV shows and stuff. And yeah, of course, it's like hyper cringe and really terrible. But to be honest, given the choice, I'd rather have something like that in charge of the Smithsonian Institute and actually talking about American history than the nonsense that we have right now, bitching about slaves every 5 minutes. It's like I just don't fucking care. I'm done caring about this.
Yeah, this is the whole thing. Is it's like people talk about culture wars. Culture is not entirely quantifiable, but you can sort of quantify it in what you would call a culture producing institution. This is why I was so up in arms about the base names being changed, because these are culture producing institutions. Even if you're not like actively thinking about Braxton Bragg, or who, by the way, wasn't a very great general, but like, even if you're not thinking about the generals they were named after, the fact that you're just saying, oh yeah, I was at Fort Bragg, or I was at Fort Benning, or something like that, it carries on the memory, even if you're not actively thinking about the people that were there. Place names are a good example of this. And this is why when the Brandon administration got in, they were so hard in the paint on this, because it was literally an attempt to alter the culture producing institutions. And it was completely top to bottom. The scale of which this occurred is mind blowing if you ever actually look in it. Just in terms of the college I was going to renamed 3 of their buildings because of it. Like the streets, buildings, colleges, all of them, like it was just from top to bottom all across the country. The scale of it is mind blowing. And these museums are another good example. Whole exhibits were pulled and put away, seemingly forever. Names or plaques were changed or taken down. People were more or less removed from museums, erased from history, et cetera, et cetera. And in these museums, and Trump is right to look into it, because the kind of people who run these museums are the same kind of people. I remember what the joke I was going to make now are the same kinds of people who move to Washington, D.C. You got to think about the kind of person who chooses to move to Washington, D.C., right? They're the kinds of people who, there's a certain amount of vanity. There's a certain amount of greed, not all of them, of course, but, this is whatever. You all know what I'm saying. There's a certain amount of vanity. There is a certain amount of greed that is necessary for someone to decide to live and like living in a place like DC. But these are the kinds of people who were either weren't pretty enough to make it in LA, in Hollywood, or weren't smart enough to make it in the New York City finance world. And so what were they left with? Politics. This is why, we talk about these lol cows who get elected as friggin' representatives, and they're former porn stars and B-tier movie actresses and failed finance guys, or runt of the litter, former corporate execs, or I don't know. You can pick and choose whoever you want, and it's an indication that they're not sending their best. There was a German field marshal, and I promise I'll wrap it up on this, but there was a German field marshal who once divided officers, and you can generally divide people into 4 categories: smart and ambitious, smart and lazy, dumb and ambitious, and dumb and lazy. And the worst of the 4, in his opinion, was the dumb and ambitious. And all of the dumb, ambitious people in this country end up in this frigging town and ruin everything. And they're very diligent, and they're very stupid. And so that's why you can see the effects of their
well, we have an excellent
far-reaching.
Boy, oh boy, do we have an excellent clip to show with you saying right there about.
We didn't even plan this.
So, I know. Yeah, here we go. Here's the chief of police for Washington D.C., which, yes, of course, smoke alarm chirp. But I love this clip so much. Let's play it first, and then we'll react.
What the chain of command is now?
What does that mean?
Well, is it Pam Bondi speaking to the mayor, speaking to you, or how does this work?
So the executive order is clear. The president has requested MPD services, and our home rule charter outlines the process. The president designated Attorney General Bondi as his proxy to request services through me.
Well, I mean, where do we even start with this? First of all, there's not a black woman in the United States that's qualified to run any of our major cities. There's no way. I mean, we discussed this with the cutbacks to government spending and things like, the jobs reports and whatnot, showing us that 60% of black women with college degrees just go and work for the government, and 350,000 of them have now lost their jobs since Trump came into office. It's just, this whole thing is just a complete farce. It's a make-work jobs program for these people, and you just see it right here. I mean, this is literally DEI in action. Oh, wow. We have a police chief, some black short-haired lesbian bitch who doesn't even know what the word chain of command means in here, which is pretty much, you can even watch a simple episode of Law and Order to know the chain of command means in a law enforcement capacity. It's come on.
A general fact of life, chain of command, right? This isn't super complicated stuff here, who's the person that you are immediately responsible for,
Yeah, it's wild. And then I also love how the mayor, Muriel Bowser, just comes from behind her like Emperor Palpatine's like, no, quick, shut it down now. She doesn't know the answer. I got to step in here on this one. But yeah, so we got the triarchy of strong black women here who've been in control of DC for some time, and of course the results speak for themselves.
Well, hey, if anyone wanted to dispute that Washington D.C. was a southern city, or was not a southern city, rather, the counter argument is staring you in the face. But no, they used to say that DC had a southern efficiency and northern charm. But what am I going to say here? I mean, what is there to say here?
Charlemagne's in the chat. Yeah. Heard a rapper rap about his chain of command once.
Oh man. I mean, to be honest, like
the gold chain of command.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to go around making statements like this, but like I wonder if it would be cheaper to just like pay every black woman in the country exactly what they are currently making and just have them not work in the government. Like, you know, I wonder what would,
there's definitely an argument to be made. You know,
yeah,
it's like the
like
same argument when people say we will literally pay you to remigrate. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like I really do wonder like which one's going to cost more money in the long term. It's just like paying black women to be black women, or like paying them and then putting them in all of these positions of authority across the United States. Like I really do wonder. And I don't know. I mean, this is just, it's so, I don't want to say blackpilling or disheartening, but like this is just, it's like a generational phenomenon. Like this is just not going to change. You know, as long as things remain the way they are, this is just not going to change. You're going to have like 1,000 black women in charge. I know we've got, you know, some more coming up about
that's
women government officials.
I mean, but that's like the thing that's so amazing about this though, is that, yeah, actually running the government is actually kind of easy because black women have been in these positions all the time.
Well,
you know, this whole time. So it's like, oh, yeah, our guys could easily get in here, and imagine how much work that they would actually be able to be doing if, you know, it's like literally you just going in and showing up. I mean, Charlie's talking about it in the chat, like they be on break. It's like, yeah, like just you showing up and not being on break is going to be a significant improvement to these people.
Yeah, but the office changeth the man. I don't even know. This is the.
I know.
I was listening
to.
I was listening to friggin' the now absent Pete Quinonez's stream he did recently with Bird earlier today and yesterday, and Bird said something interesting. He's like, you know, they were both saying something like this. It's like, you know, memes don't hit the way they are anymore. I think it was Pete that said this. Memes don't hit the way they used to pre-COVID because in 2020 the whole world just became a joke. And like you show me a clip like this, and yeah, I'm kind of force affecting the laugh because like how can you look at this and like not think this is just utterly absurd? But like this is the least surprising thing. Like
it's like just it's all of our cities are like this. All of them. The mayor of LA is like this. Chicago had like Lightfoot literally for forever. I mean, you got like Eric Adams, who is just like a different gender of these people. So it's like, oh, okay, whatever. But it's just all of these cities, wherever you look around, it's just, I know like plenty of major cities in Florida are all run by like gays or lesbians. It's just, is there a single like white guy that's in charge of a single like major city in the country at this point?
I'll take Eric Adams over this. I'll take the black man who got caught embezzling, comparing himself to Jesus over this. Like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah. I laugh. It's like, again, it's a forced affectation because it's like, what are we even doing here, bro? It's like, we all know that this can't go on forever. And we all know that this, all of our cities being like this, obviously this is an unsustainable situation, but it's just going to keep going. And obviously, yeah, eventually the bill will come due and eventually, we'll realize this is unsustainable. But like, how many police chiefs asking what the chain of command is will it take for there to be substantive change? I don't know. Maybe I'd wager maybe four more.
I will say this. It appears that even though that Donald Trump's presidency in this term and in his first term was one of the major campaign promises, and one of the things they were focusing on was reducing crime throughout the states. I do like how it was just this whole response of taking over DC was in a direct response to Big Balls, one of the Doge employees, getting mugged just last week. And then literally a week later, Trump was like, okay, I'm sick of this shit. For sure.
That's what caused this?
Yeah. That was the response.
The same guy?
Yeah.
Look, I'm not on Twitter anymore, so like I'm spared the hell that all of you go through on a day-to-day basis, and I'm not sorry about it. I love not being on Twitter anymore. It's pretty great. But that's what friggin' caused this. Big Balls got mugged.
Yeah, it was last week. He got beat up quite a bit. We covered it on the show, but yeah, and in response to it, okay, we're shutting down DC and we're getting tough on crime, and we actually have some clips to show here of the DC cops actually finally being unleashed to take on the riffraff in the city. So let's watch.
Back off! Whoa, man! Back up! Everyone back up! Back up! Get him!
It's just like, what do you think is going to happen when you go over and punch a cop? You're like, it's always amazing, no matter how many of these body cam videos that you watch, whether they circulate on Twitter or you watch them on YouTube or wherever, right? It's like, dude, do you just not understand when you're dealing with a law enforcement or the DMV or any like government official whatsoever? The situation can only become worse for you. There's no way you could talk your way out of it. There's no way you can, rationalize with the guy in this current situation. It's just like, okay, you're screwed now, and you can only make it worse by having your buddy come over and try and sucker punch a cop, or try and run away, or try and argue, or try and like start recording people, or phoning a friend. There's nothing you could do. So just relax it and. But just for a loss of words, because like for years, the point was always, oh well, we got to make sure that all of the cops are wearing body cam footage. Oh boy, did that bite them in the ass?
The Bible says I'm not supposed to take inordinate pleasure watching this clip. I can see why, because it's really easy to. It's really easy to. It's but this is the thing, is it's like we don't have a. I don't know. I get it's a mixed bag on the.
These people are just shocked. These people are just shocked. Like, wait, what? Like,
yeah, because
cops are supposed to do cop jobs. What are you talking about? We live in a city where the police don't do this. Come on.
Because for the past 4+ years, they've been the sacred, untouchable people that like the cops are like scared to get around. Like, and now basically Trump is a return of like 1970s, 1980s police brutality. And I'm personally here for it. I know it's kind of a mixed bag on the right, talking about how police brutality can be pretty great sometimes, but it's great when it's used against the people I dislike.
It doesn't even like brutality though either. It's literally just guy comes up, tries to sucker punch a cop, cop pushes girl on top of hood of car, handcuffs her. It's like, okay, you punched an officer, you're done now. There was another case where a gay DOJ employee threw a Subway sandwich at one of these cops, and then like quickly ran away in a very gay manner. If people watch the clip, it's pretty obvious, bobbing and weaving through traffic as he's jaywalking in the street, trying to avoid people while he's screaming fascist, fascist, fascist at these cops, throws the Subway sandwich at him, runs away very gaily, ends up getting tackled, arrested, and then loses his job at the DOJ. It's like, good.
Thank God, trying to run from the consequences of his own actions. Many of that occurs. Much of that occurs, rather. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, this is. I wish we could see more of this.
I mean, the only way this could be better is if all these cops just walk right into the halls of Congress and just arrest everybody in there. God, wouldn't that be great? But,
Yeah, we could dream.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the very least, I will say that I'm quite happy to see this stuff taking place in our nation's capital. Unfortunately, Trump really just doesn't have the power that they say go in and fix any of our other huge and major cities. However, another thing that is nice is that as Gavin Newsom was having some kind of press conference in LA today, there was an ICE raid going on right in the background of his of like the press conference, which the mayor over there, I forget her name, but one of these other generic black woman mayor, number 5, short hair, lesbian look, build, whatever, was complaining about how ICE is deliberately provoking the situation here in LA, and they're being super disrespectful to Governor Newsom as he's having his press conference, and people are just coming out of their vans and grabbing Mexicans and throwing them in the back of vans while everyone's in masks, which is great. So, I mean, the law and order and the mass deportations are commencing. The only thing that we can say here is do more of it and do it faster, please. It could never be enough deportations. It could be never enough stopping crime.
Completely agree. Precisely because it is absolutely impossible to affect the numbers in any short period of time in the aggregate, in the gross, through government action. So all of this, like these minor little, we need as many of these minor little raids, deportations, we need as much initiative taken by people not in government offices as possible. So, just honestly, just take the restrictions off the cops, man. Let them do their jobs. Let them do what it is they want to do.
That's the other thing too, man, is like, we've talked about this before, but since Trump came back into office this time, law enforcement, ICE, all these other agencies, the recruitment numbers are just at an all-time high. I mean, the ICE one is particularly interesting because they just waived college degrees for it. It's like, why do you need a college degree here? We're actually going to train you guys. We're going to pay you guys well. So, I mean, like, listen here, hashtag not financial advice or anything, but I know there's a lot of guys in our thing who are in their like young 20s. Maybe they're a little directionless. Maybe they don't really know what to do with themselves. Dude, like ICE is not looking like a bad spot to work right now. I mean, if I was 10 years younger, I'd probably go and do it. So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, even over the military, like I did a show with Pete recently talking about the pros and cons of joining the military as a young guy. But if you can get into ICE over the military, do that instead. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, they're hiring like crazy right now, which at least appears like all the huge budget increase that they got in the big beautiful bill is at least getting spent. I'd much rather they spend it on actual human beings and people. As far as I'm concerned, all these ICE agents, guys, they should be made millionaires as far as I'm concerned with all this stuff. But we'll see what happens. So
they're not doing it for the money.
Yeah. It's true. They should be well taken care of, though. All right. Well, so we've talked about Trump taking over Washington, D.C. and stamping down on crime. Of course, the criminals and the jaywalkers and ne'er-do-wells of all types are crying and gnashing their teeth as law and order is actually restored in our nation's capital. But one person who had one of the worst spurg outs and flame outs on Twitter this week in response to this was softcore historian himself, Dan Carlin. This was actually kind of amazing, to be honest, because people might remember Dan Carlin from the mid 2010s as one of these extreme super historians who does really deep dives into various topics, about like the Mongols or any other historical period or what have you. So this guy kind of had his day around that time. I remember he was cozying up to a lot of like the intellectual dork web types around that like 2015, 16, 17 kind of reign. But once again, this guy just has a full case of TDS, and it was just shown on full display once again this week. So quote from Mr. Hardcore History himself, Dan Carlin: "Those of you who don't know what authoritarianism looks like, this is it. All the gaslighting about previous presidents, what about, is bullshit. I've been talking about the slide towards now for 30 plus years. Those earlier concerns were nothing. Now we are here." Where was this when, COVID was going around, when, they stole the 2020 election, when, if you're talking about for 30 years, I mean, just the presidents, both Bushes, Bill Clinton, Obama, and certainly Biden were all significantly more authoritarian than Donald Trump was, and even if you want to go back even further than that, somebody like Lincoln, Jackson, both Roosevelts, Wilson, Andrew Johnson, no, not Andrew Johnson, Lyndon B. Johnson, all of these characters far more authoritarian than Donald Trump was, and it's not even close, man. But anyway, and this isn't partisan. Yeah, sure it is, Dan. This is time for choosing. Do you support the constitutional republic or this one person? Well, if the constitutional republic led us to this, but anyway, this one malformed, narcissistic. What are you, a woman? Like narcissistic. Just throwing that out there. What a gay term. This should never come out of a man's mouth.
He's about to trigger me with this next word.
Yeah.
I hate when people use this word.
Completely non-empathetic. Yeah, another woman word.
Talking about what women say. Yeah.
Why should this come out of a man's mouth? This is fucking absurd.
Well, don't you know that 2,000, 4,000, like depending, I'm a young Earth creationist, so I think the Earth is only about like 6,000 to 8,000 years old. But like 6,000 to 8,000 years of moral development has basically led us to the sum of all morality is being generally a nice person. Generally being and empathy. That's the answer. That's the answer to everything. Is you just all these, you just got to be just kind of like generally understanding of other people.
No. Anyway, carrying on here. So completely non-empathetic, except for himself, which is just not the correct use of words here. That's ridiculous. But anyway, version of an American wannabe Mussolini, because that's what this guy is. That still is one of the most amazing statistics ever. It's like this big bad man, Benito Mussolini fascism. There's only like 400 executions like attached.
Why
to his
do
name.
they call him?
Like
why don't they just
nothing.
call him Hitler? Like why do they have to call him Mussolini? Like why don't they just call him Hitler, man?
It's just crazy, but it's like dude, like 400 people. Mussolini wasn't even that bad, dude. It's like literally nothing. Fucking Bill Clinton killed more people than that. Anyway, and here's the rub. If you don't see it, it's either because you are so blinded by your own partisanship. I love it, like they always say, like, I'm the enlightened centrist. I'm the guy who could see above all that. I'm not partisan like any of you guys. We'll show his partisanship in a second here real quick. But brainwashing or subcognitive dissonance costs, or it's because things what you wanted all along. Proofread your shit, Dan. Hashtag un-American. You could say, well, other presidents did this and that, but none have come close to doing all of this. Shut the fuck up, man. Just stop. How is it that me, who is not a super accomplished historian such as yourself, and does amazing deep dives into books down at the National Library to make my 10-hour long podcast, how's it that I have a more basic understanding of American presidents and how they've used their power in the past than you do, dude?
Does Dan Carlin live in D.C.?
He certainly seems like he does. I don't believe so. I think he's a West
Can
Coast guy.
we get a fact check on that, chat?
I think he's a Pacific Northwest dude. But
anyone knows where Dan Carlin's house is? Anyway, this is. I don't need this for anything suspicious. Anyway, keep going.
I think he was a military guy too, wasn't he? I don't know. I've just been
that even indict. What branch?
Yeah, I've just been so unimpressed.
I
think like almost every military guy that I've ever seen on a professional podcast is just shameful. I don't think really any of them are impressive.
Okay, he's a friggin' Xer. Anyway, keep going. Keep talking.
Anyway, you could say, well, all the presidents did this or that, but none have come close to doing all of this. Shut up. You take the most extreme things previous presidents have done, the single most, and Trump combines those most extreme things into his long list of most extreme things. What a retarded paragraph. Gaslight yourself till you're blue in the face. They always use like these trigger words, man. Like gaslight. Ooh. I'm a person who knows this history. Clearly you don't, you loser. We've never had anything like this. This is exactly what the founders worried about. The founders would fucking laugh at you and call you an F slur, dude. It's been a multi-decade slide to get here, but we're here. Everyone who is honest with themselves knows this. Well, thanks, Dan. In light of this, and this is like a multiple tweet thread chimp out basically that he had, and of course because he was getting dunked on by everyone deservedly, people decided to go back into Dan Carlin's past to see what he was tweeting about in recent history, and wouldn't you know it, let's check about his past right here. So here we go. Dan Carlin, hardcore history in 2023. Okay. If they go that route, then they quickly lose control of their own country via birth rates and the ballot box. Can you see why they might not be too enthusiastic about what to them looks like conquest via democracy? You may see this as morally right, but their reticence is human. Gee, Mr. Fahrenheit, what country do you think that this man was talking about in this thread? It certainly wasn't the United States of America.
Mozambique.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
I got it.
Yep.
I got it right. No, friggin' so I quickly skimmed his Wikipedia page while you were reading this. Dude's a friggin' Xer, never served in the military, at least per his Wikipedia page. Went to friggin' UC Boulder. Born in LA, lives in Eugene, which is where the university. This dude's like a dyed in the wool.
He's a Pacific. Oh yeah, he's a Pacific Northwester for sure.
But he somehow for some reason he does a podcast on the frigging Eastern Front that is like apparently really highly rated. So how can a dude who does this much of a deep dive on the frigging Eastern Front come away with these opinions? And the answer is Mr. Carlin. Right, take it from someone who knows his history. Well, I got a state school friggin' history degree and barely dodged alcoholism and getting it. And I know a little bit of history myself, and I have something to say to you, sophist. That is what you are. You're probably in the employ of some oligarch. Some oligarch is paying you to say all this stuff. Whether it's a direct, like he's dropping a check into your bank account, or it's through a bunch of intermediaries, or just someone supporting your show, you're a sophist. You are like every single other journalist, academic, anyone with a platform. For friggin', Sargon did a video recently where Fukuyama was like calling him woke right or something like that. The end of history, Fukuyama, that one. You're all sophists. None of you care about the truth. Not really. You just, I don't understand.
It's just like the feminine nature of all these chimp outs. It's the same thing with like James Lindsay and Pinker and all these other, losers from the late 2010s who got famous because they were, the left has gone too far and the left left me and all this other nonsense. And now they just call literally everybody to the right of them, the dangerous, scary, woke right. I mean, James Lindsay is going off right now talking about how there's going to be a conversation in the future talking about what is an American. I am warning you of the rise of the far right. And it's like my response, well, everyone should be listening to American Spirits on Monday if you want to know what an American is. Those boys over there, Charlemagne, Turnips Need, and the rest of the crew are doing some amazing work over there. If people aren't watching American Spirits on Monday, what is wrong with you? They're putting out some fantastic stuff over there, directly speaking to the American experience of what it actually means to be a heritage American. So go check out that over there.
To kind of piggyback off the shill, American Spirit is something of significant substance, which has been lacking on this side of things for a couple of years now, in my judgment. Not the stuff Pete does with Dr. Johnson and the like, and Thomas not included. But American Spirits is very much stuff of substance worth your time. And it's exceptionally important because as the American identity, as America, and the concept of what an American is becomes more and more of a universal type as, a consequence of becoming a global empire and a global hegemon, it becomes more and more and more important to self-consciously learn and become aware of what differentiates an American from this universal type, from this, the whole world is now America. And you can have people come over here and speak and join a fraternity, even though they're from like Africa or something like that. And they'll talk just like a fraternity boy or something. It's very important. And American Spirits is going over these pieces, these components that make up what the historic American people are. And that's why I highly recommend you all spend your time listening to it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of what an actual American is and isn't, that will be our next story. But first, let's go through some of the super chats that have piled up, and then we will talk about some paper Americans, shall we say. So, all right. starting back up the top, we've got Solid Snake 1964. He has snuck behind enemy lines once again to be the first one in this evening for the super chats. So Solid Snake, welcome back, sir. For $5, he says, evening, gents. At the Putin-Trump meeting, I can already hear Trump. Lots of bombs being dropped on Ukraine. Too many bombs. We got to stop the bombs, Vladimir. Hopefully the meeting will lead to peace, but illegals get the fuck out is far more important. Salute. Yes, very true. Indeed. We do hope that the Ukraine war is drawing to a close. It looks like it might be on the horizon soon. I'm not paying attention to this stuff every time, and perhaps some, Charlemagne might give us an update on in the chat here really quick. But to my understanding is that one of the Ukrainian lines broke earlier this week, and the Russians advanced like another 100 kilometers or something. So I don't know how significant or insignificant that is, but everybody in this scene was right on it from day one that the Ukrainians didn't have a hope in hell in this war. So hopefully it can be stopped, and people could just live with the fact that the borders around the world are allowed to change from time to time, as they have from the dawn of time. So
real quick ancillary to their credit, and this is something our scene didn't predict. Everyone knew Russia was going to win. That was just obvious from the beginning. To their credit, the Ukrainians very much overperformed. Like, they did way better than we thought they were going to do. I remember back in the beginning, we were talking about how they were going to fold like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They weren't going to last, but no one can deny that they haven't spent blood and treasure, regardless of whatever reason they thought they were doing it for.
Charlemagne has informed us that tomorrow he will be doing a stream with Marcus Ferris Pertinax. Perhaps Mr. Manjel will join. I'll be sure to catch that one, as those Ukrainian war update streams are always interesting. So, all right, people can go tune into that tomorrow on Charlemagne's channel. Carrying on, our good friend Melon for $5. Return the capital to Philadelphia, rightful Pennsylvania clay. I mean, there's definitely discussions to be had about moving the capital of the United States out of the swamp that is Washington, D.C. in the literal sense and in the figurative sense.
It's funny he said that.
But
I've been thinking about a Philadelphia revival recently, but I don't know.
I've never been to that city. It is a place
you're not missing much. You're not missing much. There's like Independence Hall and then nothing else.
Yeah, I'd like to see it just to see it. Aramaic pencil for $10. Should have felt pride when I was in DC. All I felt was the same as going to other parts of Oakland, California. A heightened sense of awareness and an urge to arm myself. Quite deplorable. Yeah. The other thing too is that if you have a firearm in DC, even if you're a concealed carry holder or anything like that, you are screwed. Well, do not get a weapons charge or a gun charge in Washington D.C. You're fucked. So don't even screw around with that stuff. Let's see, Kyle Linskog for $10. I've been unable to join for a while. Good to be among friends. Well, it's good to have you with us, my friend. Thank you very much. Valero 393 sends us $2. They are sending their best. That's the sad part.
No, they're sending their best to like San Francisco and New York City. That's where the best are going.
Yeah. Mana you sushi for $2. You know why the ceiling bird sings. Yes, I know why the ceiling bird sings. Yep, indeed. B20 shill for $5. Paul, I found out I can get back into the service. I'm debating a new branch, new MOS. Think it's worth it for a mid-30s bog. What do you think?
I mean, are you doing it for the bag, or are you doing it because you feel like you need to serve? I remember I said earlier, joining ICE is a better way to serve your country right now than re-enlisting, and that's someone who's currently enlisted. So like, join ICE, and that's a much better way to serve. But if you want to talk to me offline, if you can like reach out to me on Telegram, tell me more about your MOS and stuff like that, and what you were previously, I can give you a more suited opinion, a judgment as to your circumstance.
All right, so there you have it. All right, Seasider sends us $10 and a salute, as he does every week. Thank you very much, sir. Mando Spam for $20. Hello again from lovely Illinois. I hope to be out listening to the show tomorrow. I must add that it is nice the channel old Sterling has been doing proper justice for the Murdoch show. Yeah, good show. People should watch it. I've been meaning to rewatch it myself lately. So,
Some
Melon,
of it is dated.
I think most of it holds up way more than I think the show as a whole has aged incredibly well.
Sargon, I think your problem is you're full of shit.
Classic. Melon for $10. Well, since it's another $10. Remind everyone that in 2013, second-term Obama, Dan Carlin, went to a media summit with General Mattis in D.C. It was about isolating Islamic extremists and putting forward moderate Muslims. What he's doing now is an extension of this, but aimed at heritage Americans, like many GWAT-era projects. I did not actually know that, Melon. Interesting. Thank you for that bit.
Yeah, that's typical. Like, this isn't developed by British intelligence. There's two ways that you can do this. You either signal boost the moderates and just totally sideline and isolate the extremists if you want to create stability, especially for a faction you're backing, or if, as British intelligence did in America prior to the Civil War, or if you want to create chaos and instability, you deboost the moderates as much as possible while signal boosting the extremists on either side. It's called hollowing out the middle. They did it for the abolitionists on the north and the fire eaters for the south, so they could raise tensions as much as possible. So yes, like this is all in all forms of media are nexuses of this. So like podcasters like Dan Carlin, Joe Rogan, all of this is very much tied up in psyoping and intelligence agencies doing narrative control, trying to see which official sources put out which official stories, and what unofficial sources get quashed and the like. So this is something to keep in mind. Memeing is warfare.
Very true. The left knows that extremely well. Tom Robinson for $2. To win, we just need to call Trump a rabbi more. Yeah, it's worked wonders so far, guys. It doesn't make you look like a Spurgeon. So, all right. That's us caught up on the first batch of super chats. So speaking of paper Americans, heritage Americans, and the like, I saw this story this week, and much like you were saying, Mr. Fahrenheit, about you just come to expect this stuff, like the characters who are running much of our major cities. This was one of those stories that just has literally everything attached to it. So let's get right to it here with the Patel Motel Cartel. We've talked about these guys in previous weeks, but here we go. So DOJ breaks up human trafficking ring at several Nebraska hotels. Mind you, this is Nebraska in the middle of the country with like one major metro, which is Omaha, which might as well be in Iowa because it's right there on the border. And then there's like nothing else in the entire state except for cornfields and open Great Plains. That is it. How is there a Patel Hotel Mafia in the middle of Nebraska? I guarantee you those people coming from Gundar Chapai or wherever the fuck, oh yeah, we're going to pick Nebraska as a dot on a map. That's where we really want to settle. It really speaks to our culture and to our heritage of our home. It's just like where we came from. We're going to Nebraska, man. Anyway, so these so all these individuals who were caught up in this human trafficking ring at many of these Patel hotels, they were all the same family, by the way. So 10 children and 17 adults were rescued in this human trafficking operation. So essentially what happened with this case was a bunch of these Patel people, who we all know through various government-funded loans and such, are able to buy these hotels in the first place, which is, again, why all these people should be deported and not receiving government money anymore, but we'll get to that in a moment. So in order to staff their hotels with workers, they would smuggle in illegal immigrants from the southern border, some of which were children, to work inside the hotels, whether it was, housekeeping services, food, front desk, whatever, right? So they need a cheap labor supply to actually work in the hotels. They were also selling drugs out of the hotel as well. So they were engaged in drug trafficking. There were weapon charges involved as well. So also we got weapons involved here in addition to drugs. And on top of this, They were also engaged in prostitution. And the final note as well is not only were they engaging in I just can't. I'll never stop laughing at the train, the train clip. So in addition to engaging in the illegal immigrant stuff to actually make these people staff the hotels, they were also engaging in legal immigration fraud by trying to get secure IDs and fraudulently secure visas by staging fake crimes for people in the home country to come to the United States. People have talked about this before with a lot of the subways throughout a lot of major cities. I think we covered this a couple of weeks back with the subway shops in like New Orleans, I believe it was. But basically what it is that as an incentive to try and keep the business thriving and the economy going, if your business is subject to a robbery or some kind of crime, oh, well, the business is shut down for a bit. It loses productivity. Not everybody wants to go and apply to work in a place that's just been shot up or robbed or had stuff stolen from it. So there's actually a stipulation that a lot of these businesses will do where, oh, we could find a guy to apply for this job immediately and keep the whole holy GDP number up. We just need to import them from India because he's my cousin. He could come work in this shop. So what a lot of these Jeets have done now is they are starting to fake and stage crimes inside their businesses, create police reports. Some cases, they actually get chief of police and law enforcement people involved and bribe them to file fake police reports so they can just import more and more of these people. So TLDR with this story, it's literally got everything. And of course, not a single John Smith was found amongst any of these people. So conclusion, once again, legal immigration, more problematic than illegal. And not a single one of these people should be in our country. They're giving us nothing. And in this case, they're literally just taking and committing all of the heinous crime acts all in one.
And what's amazing to me is that like most people outside of this little thing don't even know that this exists. I remember I was having a conversation with my in-laws and I asked them if they ever heard of the Patel Hotel Cartel, and they had no clue. And they, and I explained it to them, not just in the hotels, but in academia and in tech jobs and the like. They were not at all aware of it. And so even on, you could say the more right-wing side of the United States, everyone's aware immigration's a problem, right? Although the H-1B freak out, that was sufficient enough. So I'm remembering that. But for the average person who isn't hyper politicized, when you say immigrants are a problem, they think you're talking about their mental pictures of Mexicans. They can't even conceive, like Americans, God bless them, they're a very provincial people. Generally, they have no clue at all what exists outside of the United States, which is a blessing and a curse. They can't even conceive of a people where doing things like this is just normal, is just flat out normal and expected, and so when you talk about the problem of Indians coming into the United States and doing this, they think, well, wait a minute, like the what's the dude's frigging name on Parks and Rec? I don't even care, right? That guy. That's who they're thinking. They're like, oh, you're making fun of that guy? He's funny on Parks and Rec. And what's the problem with Indians? Oh, I know an Indian. He's very polite. That's the thing. Is like they can't. They said
nobody ever.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, I've had conversations like this, they can't conceive of it. Again, outside of this hyper politicized sphere, they just can't conceive of it. And personally, I don't think anyone here would disagree. The Mexicans aren't a problem. The Mexicans are priced in. They've been hopping the border for the past, since Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed. They're more or less a known quantity. I'm not saying we shouldn't send them all back. That's not what I'm saying. It's just they're not as insidious of a threat as the Chowdhury family here is. Right. And there's
this
million.
Is important. This is very important to talk about, right? It's like, okay, there is a different kind of immigrant and person from a civilization that shows up into your country, right? South of the United States in this hemisphere, there has never been a great civilization or a great state made from any of the Latin peoples. Okay. Now, this is not the case with places like China, with places like India, with places like the Middle East, or other parts of the world. Like, these people are actual direct civilizational enemies to you. These people are the kinds of people who will go in, get into positions of power, have absurd levels of in-group preferences, and look for power. The Mexican jumping the border to go work for a lawn service is still a huge problem, and I don't have to pay for him. I don't want him to run into my car, and I have to pay out the ass in car insurance. I don't want to have to deal with the housing price increase that comes with having 100 million extra people in this country that we shouldn't have. Yes, we all agree with that stuff, but it has to be stated that these people are a more direct threat to the American way of life than Mexicans working low-wage jobs. They're all problems, but there's a hierarchy of problem here.
Yeah, no, this is absolutely true. And there is a lot of these people in India and in China and other places, they're what Spengler would call fellahin, which are, just completely divorced from history. What is it? Completely divorced from history. Peasant life, like they're like, how do I say it? Like the average person who lives in a trailer park is what you'd imagine, right? No sense of where they came from, no sense of where they're going, don't even really care. Life is just kind of about chasing wild pleasures for them. And I don't even mean this in the sense of like a hedonist. I mean like in the sense that they do not conceive. Like there's an IQ thing that plays in here where I could beat this dead horse a little bit more, but amongst these places in India, in China, and even to a certain extent the Middle East, and especially in Europe, there is a latent civilizational competence that exists there that it may not be properly manifested until they come to a place that has tons and tons of money like the United States. And, what is it? Like for the first couple of waves of Indian migration, I grew up around Indians. I grew up in an area that was very heavily Indian, right? And I did not realize that I was growing up around the top, like 0.0001% of the country, right? Because that's who came in the first couple of waves, like the highest quality. And even they were a little bit like iffy, right? So, and someone Indian dude that Pete interviewed said, you haven't even met the average Indian yet. And you're starting to, you are starting to here.
They're the worst group of people on the planet. And it's only going to get worse. They're showing up in greater numbers in this country, and it's a huge problem. So this definitely needs to be tackled. And the whole discussion about remittance taxes and ending the H-1B stuff and just declaring all out economic war on India is just of vital importance, and all the internet cables should be cut to that country as well. I mean, they've been boxed in by the Himalayan mountains for a reason. Keep them over there.
It's kind of gotten popular recently, and I've participated in it, particularly around people like Tom Luongo, to kind of point at the British for things. And I certainly think there's there. But the one thing that you can hate the British for more than anything else is that the British are single-handedly responsible for unleashing India on the world.
Yeah, quite horrifying. And a reminder, Camp of the Saints is back in print. So people can go pick up that book because that is what's coming in the future. But anyway, so the last point I will make on this is that when people, especially conservatives, and I'm not even talking, your like actual conservative pundits or politicians or what have you. I'm just talking about your average Fox News watching, family member at home, right? When they're constantly talking about things like immigration or illegals or something like that. I remember the conversation around the Haitians in Ohio last year, and a lot of these people would just come out and just call these people illegals, basically. And the reason they default to this stuff and the leftists clap back saying, oh, well, these people are legal, thinking that they caught some people in the gotcha, and a lot of conservatives unfortunately fall for this trap, is that the average person in this country simply cannot understand in their brains how much they have been betrayed by their ruling class in this country. They walk into Costco, they walk into amusement parks, they walk into the ballpark, they just walk in their public spaces or whatever, and people are shitting on the streets, they're stealing the ducks, They're getting a little touchy-feely with their daughters at the local water park. They're just packed in like sardines in the middle of the tram station. They're scamming them at various jobs or something like this. And they just think to themselves, this has to be illegal, what has happened to us. There's no way that this could be real. There's no way that this could have been done intentionally by people in our government. And that really actually is the sad and horrifying truth of the matter is that no, it literally was. We have been betrayed by all of our people. And this was done in quote unquote legal means. And this is why we have to continually push through on the front that legal immigration is a bigger problem than illegal ones, period. And it all needs to be tackled. It all needs to be stopped. We need mass deportations on a huge level. And we need a huge moratorium on certainly third world immigration at the very least, if not all immigration altogether at this point. And again, this is just the most important issue. With all the other ones, nothing else comes close.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, if this doesn't happen, this is the kind of people that is organized enough and has enough intelligence to just break into, and they're already running like the Deloitte HR department. Some of the HR departments of the biggest companies
they're
on
all
Earth.
getting all their jobs are getting outsourced overseas, to cut back on costs. And I'm sure it's going to work out well for them in the end.
Yeah, this is the kind of people that can take over and run whole government agencies. Now obviously that's when the competency would start coming in, but like they can legit just ethnically. Point is this is the kind of people that can take over institutions and start turning them into patronage networks, and they can make little Indias here.
Which again, if you're in Ohio, find an alternative to Vivek, or just vote for the Democrat over him next year. It's just so important that we just do not give these people a foothold. I mean, giving them a governorship of a state like this, oh my God. If you think Ohio had suffered during the Rust Belt crisis and having jobs outsourced overseas, wait until Governor Vivek there just imports his co-ethnics by the millions, and you'll see how problematic that state will become in very short order.
Maybe it's God's judgment on Ohio for shooting down that abortion ban.
No. All right. Speaking of countries that have been just totally unrecognizable and overrun with legal immigration, let's turn our eyes over to north of the border. Sometimes I'll never get tired of it. Sometimes you see a story, it comes across your desk, or when you're doom scrolling or something like this, and you think, this has to be satire. This just literally cannot be true. There's just no way. And we're going to hear about this one in a second out of New Brunswick, province up in Canada. Let's listen to this premiere.
Me going for a walk in the woods is going to cause a fire. I can understand why people think that that's ridiculous. But the reality is, it's not that you might cause a fire. It's that if you're out there walking in the woods and you break your leg, we're not going to come and get you, because we have emergency responders that are out focused on a fire that is threatening the lives of New Brunswickers. And if you take your boat out fishing in a pond in Crown Land and you capsize, we're not going to be able to come and help you out, because our first responders are focused on an immediate and serious threat to our province. And so it's the possibility of diverting emergency resources away from where they are really needed.
Can someone just take this woman into a bedroom and make her shut up at this point? This is just absurd. This is like the face of the Longhouse right here, and you even have it in the bottom right hand corner with this fat blob of a monster doing the sign language bullshit. Just like, who the hell's watching this shit? Why do you need this? But TLDR, basically what's going on in New Brunswick and Newfoundland and all these other northeast provinces up in Canada right now is because God forbid that the lefties who have been constantly banging the drum about climate change and global warming and all this bullshit, we've now actually entered into a climate lockdown. People said they were going to do this during COVID, that, if we give governments this kind of power, they'll just shut it down for climate change. Well, Canada has literally done it. They're the first country that has done this. And we have our first ever climate lockdowns. If you go into the woods in New Brunswick, you are charged with a 5-figure fine. And a couple people have already been charged with 25,000 Canadian dollar fines for walking out into the woods. And their basic response, their logic for this is that, well, these wildfires have been breaking out. Of course, we can't actually manage our forests properly. So if anyone goes and walking outside, they could be a fire hazard, or like this woman just said right here, you could slip your leg and fall, and we're not going to be able to protect you. So yeah, you're not allowed to enjoy the outdoors anymore. You're literally just locked in your house.
I don't. I already made a whole song and dance about one retarded woman on this podcast, and how I can't even like force myself. I have to force myself to laugh at this. I already did that once. I don't know if I can do it a second time, man. Really don't.
So amazing is like it's basically like a 100-yard dash right now between the UK and Canada. See which is the worst country in the world to be in right now. And boy, oh boy, the two of them are just like neck and neck down to the finish at this point. It's like earlier last week it was the UK is now basically just letting any migrant go free every single day who rapes a young child. And then the Canada comes back today with climate lockdowns. And then a story out of the UK just today came out that they're actually now having women cops sort of around in booty shorts. And if they get catcalled while they're out running, they arrest people. You're literally just like going to horny jail, entrapment going on in the UK now. So it's I'll tell you this much. I'm proud to be an American. I'll say that much.
Yeah,
some of
where at least
these
I have
women, they're so stupid.
Yeah, it's true. It's true, Mr. President. I'm really glad I don't live in Canada. I remember I went on a Dimes' show a few months back, basically telling the Canadians that they exist at our pleasure, which is true, by the way, and that gives me a little bit of reassurance, knowing that this insanity can be ended at any time. But honestly, man, it's like what I don't even know. I don't even know what to say anymore.
Wow. Well, it's one of the consistent themes that we have on this show, and it seems like we're kind of talking about it every week now because it's just so obvious at this point. And we had 2 stories about it tonight. Is rule by women is just reserved as one of the greatest punishments in the Bible, and man, it's just everywhere.
It's a curse from God. Rule by women and children. It's a curse. It's like it's what happens when you fail the people. It's what happens when you have departed so far from God's law and God's way. And the only thing that really stops it, right? The only thing that really stops, at least historically, from my study of this, the only thing that stops it is like foreign conquest by another people. That's the only way it like really reverses itself. And at that point, like your country's already gone. So, no, I'm sure you can find 1 or 2 instances of something like that. But like, man, I don't know. Augustus, Isaiah 3:2. Thank you. Yes, that's the verse. Augustus friggin' tried to use state power in Rome to force women to stop being like whores, basically. Just amongst the patricians, just amongst the elite, right? Sargon of Akkad, not that one, the historical one, attempted to do the same in Babylon. A civilization, I don't know what does it, but just about every complex civilization gets to this point on the latter part of their lifespan, at least the historic ones. This happened in Athens. This happened in Rome. This has happened it happened in Anglo-Saxon Britain, actually, before the Normans conquered it and reset the clock. It just gets to a point where women are given legal status. They are given the status as political entities, which is functionally giving them male status. Basically, it's saying women are now men politically, and they can be this concept of people as a political, just individual. You need to divorce that from your mind. Women and men are not the same and should not be treated the same politically. But it doesn't reverse. It doesn't reverse. And in some cases, children are even given political rights and political privileges. And what this creates is, this right here, this face staring at you in a chair with like big beefy police people to make sure that you can't tell her not to do this or you can't remove her. Right. This is what happens. And I don't know what the way out of this is. I mean, you can try to use state power like Augustus did. Maybe you can use it more effectively. Maybe there was some particular policy. I haven't done a deep dive into it. Maybe there were particular policy or implementation failures in late Republican Rome that Augustus wasn't able to do. But you need to, I don't know the way out of this.
I mean, it'll just either come, like you say, through foreign conquest, which has more or less already happened in a place like Canada between India and China at this point. It's just not even a real place, but it's either between that or in situations like you have over here where there are like women in positions of power in politics. It's just like you could just say no to these people. You could just do things. No, Miss Susan, whatever the fuck your name is, you're not breastfeeding your child in the middle of congressional hearings. No, Lauren Boebert or Nancy Mace, you're not showing your nudes in the middle of a congressional hearing on important matters. We're not doing this shit. No, this is not the time and place for this stuff. If you don't like it, too bad. The men are back. The men are speaking now.
I mean, shoot, I don't know. Maybe we'll figure out how to do that. I personally am completely in agreement with the policy goal of the men are back and, women go back to your place. It's just a matter of carrying it out in a mass democratic society where,
the solution won't be democratic,
well, maybe you have to take away everyone's rights, which Augustus did, but I mean, anyway, keep going.
Well, so to those of you who are heritage Canadians, I guess, if there are any left, I don't know what you do, man, but if the United States was the foreign policy and the US aid or anything really did anything amazing for this country or for the Western world in general, how just like supplying arms to patriots of the UK or patriots of Canada, to retake their homelands. It's truly crazy. I mean, the UK particularly seems in really dire straits right now. Just from like an outsider looking in. I mean, it looks like that place is ready to burst. So I don't know. We'll see. But then again, like I said, I'm proud to be an American and happy to be here. I'll tell you that much. So, all right, Mr. Fahrenheit, let's go on to our final story. It's going to be a very brief one because we already kind of talked about it last night at the earlier with our topics. But tomorrow, Trump and Putin are meeting up tomorrow in Alaska. So let's get the background. I love how the thing that excites me about this is that Zelensky is just not being brought to this literally whatsoever, and just being completely ignored, which is really how it should be. We all know that this guy isn't a real leader of a country. He's just propped up by the EU and the United States. So, just completely step over him. If Trump wanted this war to be over and just leave the Ukrainians out to dry, that's fine. It really just seems like the Trump administration is nervous about the headlines that are to come out that, oh, Trump was acting like this great big tough man against Vladimir Putin during the election cycle, saying that the war would be over in no time and it never would have happened under me or something. I think the administration is scared of having to deal with the inevitable outcome of the lines on the map shifting, which is just the greatest faux pas in the current post-war consensus that, the borders are never allowed to change whatsoever. Being an aggressor in a war out for conquest is just completely verboten. It's horrible. It's just mustache man all over again, whatever. And I don't know about you, Mr. Fahrenheit, but I think the general, I think for most Americans who do not watch the news whatsoever and are just going on with their everyday experience, they just want us to stop funding this war. I think that's the biggest thing. Nobody really cares about the, sovereignty of Ukraine as a country. If people never watched MSNBC or Fox News, they wouldn't even know where the place was on a map. I think people just want to stop hearing about this shit, and most importantly, just stop sending our money over there. Americans are tired of getting caught up in these foreign entanglements and these foreign wars. And really, when it comes down to it, if Trump is just like the adult in the room and just tells everybody how it is, it's like, okay, Ukraine is done. Putin wins. They take a couple 100 kilometers of territory, and we wrap this thing up. It's like done.
No, I mean, what is it? Like, the United States has had a Eurocentric foreign policy, I think, far longer than it should have. Trump was an attempt to shift that. If Trump won, was an attempt to shift that to Asia. But Obama was particularly noted because CENTCOM, right, the Middle East, is kind of an extension of European foreign policy, because Europe is kind of our jumping off point for Middle East adventures, and has historically always has been. But yeah, the Europe Middle East centered foreign policy is something that I think we really should have changed. Really, I mean, you could honestly say since the end of the Cold War. But I mean, if the policy objective was to, a bunch of sadistic Democrats wanted to bleed Russia and kill as many Russians as possible and let the Ukrainians do it for us. Number one, they'll be judged for that. And number two, they've already achieved it, right? Like if there's anything, and I'm sure Charlie will correct me, right? But if there's anything to be believed about Russian casualty numbers, they have lost probably more than was reasonable in this campaign, right? Which, rightly or wrongly, does affect their long-term ability to project power, right? To say nothing of the political and financial capital that they have bled. Again, I'm not trying to be bearish on Russia here. I'm just saying, like, look, even from their perspective, if their policy goal was just to bleed Russia, they've done it, right? I don't think anyone in touch with reality would tell you that the borders are going to stay the same. It's just not going to happen. At the very, very utmost least, they're going to get Donetsk and Luhansk. Like, that's like at the very least, and probably more than that. Like Donetsk and Luhansk and Crimea will be legalized, like at the very least. Like there have been, I've heard various different deals and things that could be done, but really pulling back from this Eurocentric foreign policy, which I think doesn't very much benefit us, and instead turning towards a more Indo-Pacific focused foreign policy. I think that's probably wiser in real terms. Although I would also argue that keeping a presence in Africa would probably be advisable. But yeah, like there's no reason we should have stayed in Europe this long. The policy from the Trump administration has been just get Europe to start remilitarizing a little bit, building up its own militaries. And leave them to their devices. I personally think that's more than reasonable, because we have given them, I don't know. It's well, Charlie, I don't know. I mean, I understand. I understand why the Russians have sacrificed the amount of blood and treasure that they have. I'm just saying, from the Democrats' perspective, if their goal was to bleed Russia, they've achieved it. That's all I was saying. I wasn't making a moral judgment one way or the other. But this is the point that I'm. Go ahead.
What it just comes down to at the end of it, like I was circling back to, is that people just want done with this stuff. And I really just don't understand the hyper focus on, it's pretty much been, here's the other thing too, is that October 7th has taken like the spotlight from the Ukraine stuff for almost 2 years at this point. If you were to like wrap up Ukraine, it would just be like Israel headlines would come right on the news the next day, and people would just literally forget about this. I mean, I just hate the stuff where Trump is just so worried about his image in the eyes of the media in like what is going to be his last term in office, and we still have 3.5 more years to go. It's like, no one's going to care about this shit. Just wrap this stuff up. It's like, okay, great. So Russia takes a little bit of territory. who cares? Honestly, I wager that a lot more people in the United States kind of just have the chud response to this, like low end of the bell curve response, like, oh yeah, I mean, yeah, big guy wins, like this is just like the nature of the world kind of stuff, right? I think this middling, midwit IQ stuff where you're like, oh, borders aren't allowed to change, and for some reason the United States has to be involved in Ukraine literally for forever, and NATO is like this big thing that we have to defend and stuff. I think Americans' pockets and their money is just being devalued, and people know things are costing more, and we just want out. We don't want to be part of any of this stuff. And I think if you were like a strong president and just came in, threw your cards on the table, told everyone how it's going to be and how it is, and no, we're not going to be, 10 more rounds of negotiations or any bullshit like this. It's like, it's over. It's done. Take it, leave it. We're moving on. Here's the next big thing.
No, I'm with you. And from an American perspective, I think that's the reasonable stance to take. There are bigger fish to fry than the Ukraine. And ultimately, it's just going to be a minor territorial adjustment. As far as a couple of eastern provinces of Ukraine go over to Russia. This is how European politics work. Millions upon millions of people or hundreds of thousands of people die, and then you get a small minor territorial change. That's how it works in Europe, how it's worked historically. So yeah, I agree with that at the very least. From the American perspective, it's probably better not to be involved with this.
For sure. All right. Let's go into the last bit of the super chats. No doubt we'll be talking about this more in depth next week as we actually see what the meeting looks like tomorrow between these two guys. So we'll see what it looks like. And no doubt we'll be covering it next week. So watch the space. But on to the last bit of the super chats, then we'll call it a night. Menayud Sushi comes back with another $2. Sir, do not redeem the slave, sir. Yeah. I'm seeing a lot more of those clips going around recently. It just seems like normies are well aware of the scammers problem for sure. So Airmake Discourse for $10. I'm fluent in Punjabi. I'm sorry to hear that. And conversational in Hindi. What clued me in on the average Indian opinion on Americans is their own words. Even the good ones need to go back.
Yeah, Aramaic Discourse. I'm interested to hear what the average Indian's opinion on American is. I'm sure it's nothing good.
I'm sure you don't have to go far. They'll tell you on Twitter every day. These people are ethno-narcissists to a absurd degree. It's crazy. They're just saying the quiet part out loud all the time. It's nuts. They make them a remarkably easy group to hate. I'll give them that much. So, there's no Stephen Miller for Indians. I'll tell you that much. Dinesh D'Souza is not doing the job, and neither is Vivek. Bolero 393 for $10. Cartman warned us about the danger of our water parks, even if his creators were being Gen X irony bros with that episode. Yeah, well, that's certainly true. I've actually never watched an episode of South Park, so
what has happened to this place? I don't recognize it anymore. It used to be so fun and special. What is life worth living for? The dream is dead, our land is gone. There's a hole in my heart and I can't.
You're gonna get copyright strike for this one.
Probably.
There are too many minorities at my water park.
All right, that's hilarious. That's really funny. But also very true. I mean, I've talked about this in my own experiences with traveling around these great United States over the past couple of years. And, people will know this. I'm a frequenter of zoos and, parks and water parks and national parks and all sorts of outdoor activities around this country. And yeah, it's out of control, totally out of control. All right. And our last super chat of the evening, Christopher Burks for $2. I think the UK lowered voting age to 16. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. All right. Mr. Fahrenheit, thank you for joining me here tonight. It was nice just having like a one-on-one back and forth. I enjoyed it. Most of my shows are panel shows and I'm on pretty much all the time. So very rarely do I get one-on-ones anymore. So it's nice to switch things up. So do you have anything to promote, my friend?
Well, actually, just one thing. I sat down and cracked out an article for the first time in I don't know how long that I posted on my Substack. It's called "The Tyranny of Fact." It's a general. You could say it's a general foreign policy analysis, but really, what it's dealing with is the facts of being a global hegemon in the United States and the challenges that this poses to the ideological priors of a nationalist movement such as ours. So I highly recommend you all go read that and take a look and see what I have to say there, because I think this is a conversation that we need to have in the future.
Alrighty, everyone head on over and check that out. The other stuff that I will promote is, of course, the other great shows that the OGC is putting out these days. Check out American Spirits on Monday with Charlemagne and Turnip Seed. They're putting out some amazing work over there on what is an America. And next week, they're talking about the frontier, which I am particularly excited for because people will know that is a part of American history that interests me greatly. So I'm looking forward to that one. Also, we got the Chapter House on Wednesdays where Mr. Not Me, Not You interviews officers and other members of our various chapters around the country. And if you would like to get involved, please head over to theoldgloryclub.com. Check out our chapters over there and see if there's one in your area, or you can get one started in your local area as well. For myself, I don't really have much to promote at the moment. I might be making an appearance over the weekend on Rule Zero, Post Zero. Kind of depends on what the topics are, if they interest me or not. And maybe I'll shoot over there and have some fun with the rest of the guys. But in the meantime, we'll be back here for